Hi.
Hey guys, welcome to Deep in Love Talk Show. I know we're running late. Minor technical difficulties happened in Los Angeles and I'm sure around the world. Tonight we have guest speaker Arlene Karian, who is a published author. And being a mother, I actually was looking into her book and it seems like a very exciting topic. So this should be fun. Arlene, welcome. Thank you. We're finally here. That's all that matters.
Thank you very much for having me.
Tell us where you're calling from.
Pardon me?
Can you tell me where you're at? Where are you
Oh,
calling from?
I'm calling from Destin, Florida.
Florida, nice.
Yes.
We're having a crazy heat wave here, 100+ degrees, so I don't know what your weather is like.
91 to 97, anywhere in between. So
Gotcha.
it's hot, pretty hot.
Nice. Well, since we're already into our time, let's just dive straight into this. You're a
Uh,
published author. You wrote a book. Give me
Yes.
the book and the synopsis.
Okay. The synopsis of the book, Arielle, is about my journey of mentoring my son as a single welfare mom. I really had nowhere else to go. I had no resources, and the only place that I could really find answers was inside. And the way that happened was when I was alone with my son. I discovered that there was a woman living across the street that gave advice to people that really couldn't afford it. And at that time, I was just a single mom. I had had a very successful musical career as an operatic singer and pianist, and fate put me in a position that um, really I had no skills for, and I didn't know what to do. So I went ahead and I spoke to this lady, and she said, "What can I do for you?" And I said, "Well, I'm stranded with a child. I divorced my husband because I found out that he really didn't have the kind of value system that I respected. And I found myself as a single mother with no resources. So I said, I need to have some kind of suggestions, some kind of information as to what I can do with my life. I'm really down. I'm out. I have no money, and I barely know about my own identity, and now I have this child to raise." And so she said, "Okay, I'm going to ask you a very strange question. What are your initials?" And I said, "My initials?" She said, "Yes, just bear with me. What are your initials?" And I said, "ASK." She said, "That is all you ever have to do." So Arielle, I just said, "Okay, what is this? Here I am, I have barely food to eat. I don't know who I am, and she's telling me what my initials are." And I didn't get it. But I found myself wanting to wake up in the morning and just spend time alone, somehow trying to get answers from a place that was anywhere from the outside because I couldn't get them there. And I found myself going into a kind of centering process. It was definitely not woo-woo. It was very grounded. And it helped me to access answers and questions that I needed so desperately for my life. And what happened is a little structure formed, and I was able to get in touch with the best version of who I am by this centering process. Some people call it meditation, some people call it prayer. In any case, it's a non-theological approach to one's own inner treasures. And as I did this, I started gradually becoming very empowered. And so the book is about the insights that I discovered through getting to my own higher inner self and finding answers for both myself and my son. So that's how that book came about many years later, of course, when I became a lot wiser.
I
So
love it. And what's the title of the book?
the title of the book is Mentoring Your Child to Win: How a Former Single Welfare Mom Raised a multi-millionaire kid. The 7 breakthrough keys. And I just...
And it's an ebook only at this time, or is it a paper book as well?
It's on Amazon on both Kindle and a paperback.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And that's where we can find it, is on Amazon at this time?
Amazon.com, yes. Arlene, Karian, and Mentoring Your Child to Win. Absolutely. So I thought to myself, and they can get it through my website, Arielle, if you'd like me to mention it now or later, it's up.
Go ahead, since you brought it up, yeah.
Okay, it's Arlene Karian, www.arlenekarian.com, and it's ARLENEKARIAN. And so, you know, I have a mission, and my mission is to help other parents become empowered to help raise the future leaders of the world, because if we don't do that, Arielle, we're in deep, deep trouble. I mean, we're dealing with societal breakdown now. It's not just drugs. It's not just kids killing each other. It's not just the economy. We're talking about a much larger catastrophic thing that can happen to us. And we need leaders, but before we get the leaders and our children, we need to empower ourselves as parents and guardians of children. Does that make sense to you?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. I don't know if you read anything about what I do, but I'm a suicide intervention coach. I run a couple support groups in person. I also run a online chat room, and I published a book this summer myself. But I cannot say enough, and I am saying this all the time to my friends and to my sisters. I have these teenagers that come into my support group, and they just lack the fundamental basics of self-love, of self-respect, of self-empowering. And I am always, always going back to parents. Why? Yeah. It's not there. This next generation is not being taught that. And a lot of it comes back to parents aren't raising children. The TV is, the cell phone is, you know, school is. So those important fundamental basics of life aren't being taught right now. And so I am 100% behind you in everything that you're saying right now, and it has to be passed on. It's so prevalent in all the kids that I talk to that it's lacking so badly there.
There's a very serious spiritual deficit.
Absolutely.
And it's a void. And no one knows that more than you. You're speaking to people that have a void. And they don't fill it, right?
And we think that the car, the boyfriend, the clothes, the prom, the events are going to fix it. And these boys and girls, their boyfriend breaks up with them at the age of 16, and their entire life falls apart, and they're talking about suicide. Yeah. And I'm like, no, there's so much more to life. You're putting your happiness into a person. That person's never going to fix it. But he made me happy, and he made me feel complete, and this and that. And I said, no, it's temporary. It's all temporary. You're going to get...
It changes. It's nothing that they can stand on. There's no ground to stand on. That's why, and you know, I use an analogy between physical fitness and spiritual fitness. So if we take the concept of physical fitness, if we do not exercise those muscles, what will we get, Arielle? We're going to get flabby, correct? Yep. Okay. So I took that analogy of our spiritual self, and I said, if we don't find the entrance to that door and develop those spiritual muscles, we have nothing to lean on.
Yeah.
And the world is crying and craving for a change. So what my work does basically is provide a person the guidance to access their best self and develop that, and that they find that they have a foundation in their life upon which, I mean, you spoke to my son, who is a mega millionaire. And my work is not about a child becoming a millionaire. My work is about children becoming the best that they can be and tapping into their potential. His dream was to become wealthy, but he's also making a contribution to people. So it's one can be very prosperous while they're doing the work that they love.
Absolutely.
So it's about how do we develop these spiritual muscles when we're concentrating on yoga, bike riding. We know that we need to do something on the physical level, but nobody knows how to get a fundamental change going with their spiritual life. And I was blessed to find that out in those early morning days when Stefan was sleeping as a baby, and I just was quiet, and I found this opening, and I began to develop it. And not only did I learn to parent him, but I learned to mentor him. And you know, we know that a mentor is like a wise person, right?
Mm-hmm.
A mentor is somebody that can give advice, can help shape a child's consciousness. And so I actually began to acquire this wisdom through going to my inner life, and I began to find the answers for my life and his life. So what happened is I got out of this poverty situation, and I became very successful. And in that parallel journey with my son, he began to reflect my higher sense of my self-esteem, and he developed into his own person. And it was quite an incredible journey, I must say. It was quite incredible.
I can imagine. I can imagine. I have 3 little questions for you. One of the important key words I heard you say was I became quiet. In those first early mornings, I became quiet. And that's a huge thing. It's something we don't often do anymore or take time to do, and that's being quiet and being still and truly listening to yourself.
Yes.
A lot of times, anytime we have a downtime, we're automatically filling it up with the phone, the cell phone, the Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is. We don't even stand in an elevator for 2 minutes anymore without pulling out our phones and being entertained. Or at a crosswalk, the light turns red and it's like, oh, let me pull this out again. So I love that you said quiet. The second thing is I was going to ask you, so you published the book, so do you do coaching? You said you teach this method.
Yes, I have a program. I have a 7-week program.
Gotcha.
And, yes, and I teach people how to access that place inside of them where they can manifest fundamental change. This is not about going to a workshop or reading a book or hearing an insight and saying, oh, I had an epiphany. This is about changing your life where every day becomes a miracle, and miracles become the norm. Miracles are just part of your life because you are living from a foundation of your own value system. It's just like when we're in the zone with our physical life, we feel good. We're on a bike or we're running, we're doing whatever we can. That's what we need to experience in our inner life, getting into that zone and learning how to live through it on a permanent level. That's what my work is about. And you know, it was validated through research in the last few years by the head of Psychology Today. He found out that the 3 most important things for parents are, number 1, to love your child unconditionally. Number 2, to find less stress in your life. And number 3, to improve your relationships. Now, how can you do number 1, love your child more unconditionally, if you haven't handled the other 2? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So the work that I found was how, if we're talking on a really grounded level, how to get up, know what to do with your day, how to detoxify your emotions so your kid doesn't get the brunt of it, how to love more, how to be free, and how to feel self-fulfilled as a parent or a guardian. So your child breathes that kind of environment as compared to, oh, you were a bad child and you're going to be punished. That's not the answer.
Right.
When they grow up, they're going to retaliate somehow.
For sure. So you're making it sound so easy. I know I'm a single mom. I've been there. So I understand. Can you put us back to that moment and give me a practical, when you're in that moment and you're on welfare. You're worrying about when your next food is going to cut money for food. You're trying to figure out how to get gas in your car. And being a single mom, you're overwhelmed with responsibilities, with work, with household tasks, the baby crying. And many times people say, oh, I don't even have time for myself. I don't even have time to sit quietly. I can't even think about sitting quietly. Okay, back to real life. How do I get money for my food? How do you, what's your advice for turning and getting into that mindset?
Okay. Okay, Arielle, that's an excellent question. First of all, I must tell you that I had an epiphany. When I was pregnant, I was in the elevator going down with my husband at that time to getting ready to go to the hospital. And I had to be on an elevator with garbage on it because the regular elevator was broken. So I'm coming down this elevator with these black bags of garbage, and I had an epiphany during a labor pain. And the epiphany was, I don't want my child to have to go through poverty like this. I don't want my child to suffer. And I made a vow that I was going to find an answer. So to answer your question in one way, Einstein tells us if we want to change our life, we need to change the place from which the problems arose. We need to make a different decision. So you're calling out all of these practical questions. What do I do? I'm hungry. I need to put money on the table, gas in the car, and I need to feel that I can have the means to take care of this child. It comes with a decision. What comes first? Now we go back into that quiet time where we prioritize and say, if I don't align myself with my best self, then the day owns me. I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love it.
So it's a decision. It's a decision as to what comes first, what is the most important thing, the way I de-stress myself. And I'll give you an example. Stefan was 4 years old. I was washing the dishes, and he wanted to put this beautiful glass in the dishwasher. He was helping. He said, Mommy, can we put this in the dishwasher? And I said, Stefan, if it breaks, I can't replace it. He said, Mommy, it'll be okay. Okay, Arielle, this is important. 30 minutes later, the cycle was done. I opened the dishwasher, and that beautiful goblet was in smithereens. And he looked at me. I could see his little body was tightened, and he didn't know whether I would hit him. And this is long after so I had already worked on now I had a decision. I went through an immediate calculation. Am I going to take away his manhood because he broke a glass, or will I treat him like a human being? So my next question to him was, Stefan, did you hurt yourself? And he never forgot that, Arielle. So it's a mindset. How are we going to develop our own inner fulfillment as a human being and rise to a level to become a shaper of a child's mind? Does that help to answer your question?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of times as parents, we think that our kids come first, and you hear that said all the time, put your kids first. And I'm always like, no, you are so wrong.
Yes.
You have to put yourself first. You have to give yourself that time. Or what happens is we end up reacting to our children out of our own insecurities or issues or problems. Exactly. A lot of times I will pay attention to other parents, their kid misbehaved, they're mad, they're snapping at them, hitting them, whatever, throwing them in timeouts. And I said, really your kid didn't do anything wrong. You're stressing about getting somewhere on time, you're stressing about this and that, so you are worried, thus transferring it to your child and making them pay for you being late or whatever the issue is, but we transfer it to them. I see it all the time. And so for me, I'm a parent. I have a 4-year-old daughter. Yes. And she's a very good girl. She's very well behaved. I'm very lucky. And so I know that when she's acting out, I question myself first. Okay, one, she might be hungry or tired, but most importantly, is it because I'm over here stressing out and yelling at her, sit down, she's just being a kid and wants to stand up, but I'm so worried about either looking bad or being late or whatever it is. So I'm relaying that onto her. Another, I I won't go into the issue, child spanking and all of that. That's a different day. But there was this incident where my daughter was 2. This young boy walked over at the playground and smacked her in the face. And before I could say anything, the mother walked over, jerked him, and was like, "Why are you hitting?" and smacked him in the face. Don't hit. Yeah. And I literally went, "That is so confusing. You're yelling at your child. Don't do this." But it wasn't even that he hit. It was more that she looked bad in front of the other parents that her child had hit someone, and that's what she was disciplining with. And so it came from an issue of her. So that comes back to my first statement of, yes, parents, you have to come first. You slow down. If you take that extra breath, if you count to 3, whatever it is, it usually will resolve into a hand.
A great analogy is when we're in a plane and there's a problem. Who puts the mask on first, Arielle?
Right. I just flew last week, and I remember I was listening to that. I'm like, you know what? Something we always forget. You have to do the mask for yourself first.
You cannot help the child. Now, we have a choice. We can do things ordinary. We can do it hit or miss, or we can take the time. And you know what the real benefit is? The parent turns into a self-fulfilled being. It's like a parallel journey between yourself and what you give your child. I mean, to walk around in bliss rather than walking around in confusion, disorganization, fighting with your significant other, not knowing what comes first in every day, being exhausted, not having enough me time, doing a juggling act with your to-do list. It doesn't stop.
Right.
You have to decide what is the priority of my life.
Yeah. So a viewer just messaged in. They said, it's not really a question, but my take is children learn what they live.
Exactly. Exactly. And you sound like a conscious parent, Arielle. You do. You sound like a conscious parent, and I'm very delighted to hear that your daughter has that.
Thank you.
So
huge difference. Can I ask what it is your son does?
My son owns a Great American Products, which is a mail-order nutritional company.
Okay.
And I believe that he went into that because of my love of nutrition. I'm realizing that you need to be physically fit and spiritually fit. They go hand in hand together.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's a complete circle. We talk about positivity and happiness on my show all the time. People are always asking me how to be positive, how to be happy. And I always ask, well, how is your sleeping? Do you sleep? How is your eating habits? Are you eating healthy, whole foods?
Yes.
How's your exercise? We try to categorize or compartmentalize our life, but it doesn't work that way. It's very much all connected. So I 100% agree with you. And same with our children. We wonder why they have ADD and are lashing out and disruptive. And I'm like, well, look at the foods you're feeding them. They're full of sugar, juices, the processed foods. They can't handle that type of food. Just no wonder they're going to be bouncing around and crazy and unfocused and on to the next. Your food
and become addicted.
Absolutely.
Sugar is more addictive than cocaine. I just read Dr. Mark Hyman's report that sugar is 8 times more addictive than cocaine and many, many times harder to get through the addiction. So when we bring our kids to McDonald's or feed them Fruit Loops and stuff like that, I mean, it may be convenient, but the price that they pay is going to be very high. And Dr. Hyman also said another thing. The food we eat instructs our brain as to how we're going to function.
Oh, absolutely. And I always talk about it, too, even further. The food you eat, if you truly love yourself, you only want to feed yourself the best. So we talk about self-love, and then we go over here and eat that quick snack, the ding-dongs or whatever. And then back here and like, but wait, why am I not receiving love from people? Let me go eat this crap again. And we don't see that it's connected, and I say, but you're not truly loving yourself because these actions are also a reflection of the love you have for yourself.
Totally.
And so it's very much all connected.
Yes, You can look at a person's diet and you can know whether or not they have love for themselves. Because if they love themselves, they will not want to put the wrong thing because they're harming their motor. And they will not get the same delivery system from the way they live.
Absolutely. Believe it or not, our time has come to a very fast end. It has been such a pleasure. I wonder if you have a life quote or mantra that you live by?
The mantra that I live by is literally to do unto others as you would do to yourself. So it's expressing the love that you feel for yourself and let it radiate out into your life in everything that you do. And I wanted to mention also, Arielle, for a moment, I created an 18-minute CD, which is the exact structure that I learned to do in the morning. And that's how I became what I became and why my son is so successful today. So that's another thing. But they can, find out about that on my webpage that I have now. So,
well, I'm gonna post a link to your book and a link to your website as well as this talk show, so everyone who missed it can actually rewatch it. You are such a delight. Your energy exudes from you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.
I love doing these talk shows just for this very reason, because I soak up the energy that you're putting out and the knowledge that you have. And I know I'm a young mom, so I'm always learning the steps. And so I love seeing someone who's been there in that same situation, who started from nothing, raise a child who's very successful, but most importantly is happy. Happy, loving life. And that's
very
really
fulfilled. Very fulfilled.
Yeah, that's absolutely what, because it gives us our purpose.
And I wish that for every parent and I wish you the best of luck in your life.
Absolutely.
So.
Thank you so much, Arlene. I'm going to end this talk show tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
A fantastic evening.
Thank you so much, Arielle.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.